I'm going to start today by introducing you to our demonstration program. It's an amortization calculator, so we'll provide it with a principal, a rate, and a term in months, and it will first calculate what that payment amount should be, and then it'll calculate and display the entire amortization schedule. So what the balance is, what the principal payment is, what the interest payment is, etc. The program runs on a Windows machine and accepts input from the command line and displays output back to the screen. So in future sessions, we will decompose this program to the user interface, the accepts and displays, and the functionality, the calculations, so that we can create a service, if you will, out of the functionality and then put different interfaces on it. So it can be called from Java or C# or as a web service. And we'll show that in future sessions. So first, let me introduce you to the program. We'll run it. First, it's going to ask us for the principal balance. We'll just do 100,000. It's going to ask us for the term in months. Now, just to make this fit on the screen, we'll just use 24 months. And an interest rate, and we'll use 5.5%. So when I hit enter, it takes those inputs, calculates the payment. You'll see that stays the same across all. And then for each of those payments, what the principal, interest, and then the remaining balance is. And finally, at the end, it calculates the total interest paid for the term of the loan. Next, we'll take a look at this program inside of Visual COBOL for Visual Studio. So I'll start Visual COBOL for Visual Studio, and this is the version 9 product, and take us into a project where I have this program set up. Okay, now this is the program that we've just run. And let's take a look at this program to better understand it. So I'm going to right-click on the program in the Solution Explorer and show a program flow graph. Okay. So this is looking at the program and developing, if you will, a flow chart that explains how this program functions. I'm going to change the layout of this to a top-to-bottom layout. So you'll see the procedure division obviously starts the program. We have a section that does the user input, and you can see when I mouse over that, you'll see the content of each section. After that, it performs the 25 amort schedule, and this itself has two sub-paragraphs. First one calculates the payment, and then once we've got the payment, we calculate the amortization schedule, and finally, we print that result. So let's if we're going to create a component of this, the paragraphs that we're interested in are going to be these three. So I'm going to highlight the three as I've done and create a group out of this. And we'll call this our service candidate. Okay. So I can take this graph and cut it into an email and add other documentation to it. So if I'm working on a team, I can explain and document where my service component came from. Let's take a look at the program itself and show you some coding standards that you may find in older programs like this. A couple of issues I would change if I could. As I look through the program, some places I use pic, some places I use picture, some places it's capital, some cases it's lowercase. Indentation is off, so if we look at this out data paragraph, you'll see I've got 3 and 5 levels, and we're not showing any indentation on that. Here I have some variables in lowercase, other variables in uppercase. If we scroll down in the procedure division, it looks like there's a hierarchy when there isn't, so those should all be shown at the same level. Similarly, in this amort schedule paragraph, the alignment could be better. If we scroll down and we look at the some of the calculations, you'll see in this case we use a greater than symbol, Here we're using the word equal instead of an equal symbol, so we'd like to have some consistency among that. General is a coding standard. If we look at this calc payment section, you'll see here we've got a standard where the period's on its own line, other paragraphs where it's on a line by itself. So there are a number of things that could be cleaned up. So I'm going to show you a couple features that are in Visual COBOL to address that. I'm going to start with the out data paragraph that I have highlighted. And from the edit menu, I'm going to choose advanced, and we're going to format that selection. Okay, and now you'll see we've cleaned that up. If I just do a Control Z, you'll see what it looked like before. Okay, so we have the ability to clean up sections of the code. We also have in the formatting and cleanup a number of options. So let me walk you through some of those. Off the Tools menu, I'm going to choose Options, and then I'm going to find the editor, text editor. Under text editor, we're going to find the microfocus options, and under that, we're going to look at the code style. So first, let's look at the formatting. So the general formatting, you can set up your alignment, what positions you want things to start in. You have options for the data division. For example, I'm going to align all my picture clauses at 32, so they'll all be in a nice line like you see here. For the environment division, I'm not really going to make any changes. Let's go down and look at the procedure division. I like to have my periods on the end of the line rather than on a line by themselves, so I'll take those options there. Also, let's look at some of the code cleanup options. So I'm going to change all my keywords to uppercase and all my identifiers to uppercase. So my variable names and my performs, moves, etc. will all be uppercase when I make the changes here. You could say ID division or identification division. I'm going to make all my picture clauses pick, and you see there's a number of options that you can change in here. I'm going to use symbols over operators, so I use the equal symbol rather than the word equal. And if it then isn't required, we'll get rid of it. So those are basically the changes I'm going to make. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight or just do the entire program. So again, off of the advanced menu, edit advanced, I'm going to now format the COBOL program with code cleanup. Okay, and then let's take a look at this. So the yellow bars here are showing you where we've changed something. Okay, so you notice everything lines up now. All my picture clauses are lining up. They're all saying pick. All my variables have been converted to capitals. We've got alignment here where we came down and had one of these paragraphs that had a period on its own. That's been fixed. So the code just looks better now that it's all set up consistently. So here's a quick overview of some of the features that are in Visual COBOL, and some of them are new with the Visual COBOL 9 release regarding the code cleanup. Now that we've cleaned up the code so it matches our coding standards, we're going to focus on creating a service program out of the functionality removed from the user interface. So to do that, I'm going to start with the paragraph that makes our service candidate start, the amort schedule paragraph. When I double click on that, you'll see it positions me on that line of code inside of the editor. Now I'm going to use Visual COBOL's built-in refactoring capability. I'll start by mousing over the paragraph, choosing the context menu, and the COBOL refactoring menu, I'm going to do the extract section paragraph to program. So what this is going to do, as it says here at the top, is create a self-contained COBOL program from the paragraph 25 amort schedule, and then modify the original code to call that program. So we'll retrofit the original program, put the functionality in a subordinate program, then the original program can still call it, plus we can make service programs out of that and then call it from other places. When I do this, I'm not going to call my new service program 025 amort schedule. I'm going to call it AMRT service. So it's going to be my amort service program. When I choose next, Visual COBOL will go through and calculate the necessary variables to run this program. So you'll see that we've added this BRE from the business rules extraction bit, input structure and output structure. So what I need to feed this service and what is it going to return to me. And then inside the original program, we're going to populate that linkage that we've added, which is going to be working storage in your caller. We're going to then call the amort service program and then take the results and put it back into linkage and return to whatever calls us. Let's take a look at the amort service program. So it has the working storage necessary to perform these paragraphs that we're bringing over. It has the linkage section, which is now the interface to this service component. And then it will populate the linkage, perform the paragraph, the amort schedule, same as logic as it did before, and then put the results back into linkage and return that to the caller. Okay. So if we look at this program, what's in green, we've generated. What's in red, we've moved from the original program into the service program. So you'll see the portions of the paragraph that calculated the payment and then called the amortization paragraph, the amortization paragraph itself, the calculate payment paragraph itself. So when I apply that, we now have two programs. So if we look at our original program that I had diagrammed for us and update the graph because of the changes, you'll now see that it has the user input paragraph, then it has the amortization schedule paragraph, which is now the logic to call the component. Then instead of calling a paragraph, it makes a call to that component and then comes back with the results and prints the schedule. If we were to look at the service program through the flow graph, we'll see, let me just rearrange this from the top down. You'll see that first it's going to copy the input data, moving it into working storage. Then it's going to perform the calculations, and then it's going to copy the data back to the output section. And again, you can navigate through this diagram. Okay, so with those changes made, let's run and debug the program to show how it functions similar to how it did previously. So I'm going to go back into our amort program and just put a couple of breakpoints here on our procedure division. So we'll break before each paragraph and then before we exit the program. And then we'll go ahead and run this. Okay, so we're compiling both the modified version of the original amort calc program and the amort service program. And we're sitting here at the first breakpoint. That's going to just do the user input, so I'll go ahead and run that. Okay, so I'm asked for the principal balance, and we'll use the same as we did before, 100,000. It's going to ask me for the term in months, and we'll do the 24 again, so it fits on the screen and so I can compare them. And we'll do the interest rate, 5.5%. Again, same as we did when you originally ran the program. Okay. Now we're back inside the IDE. I'll just move this so we can see both of these. Okay. Back inside this, now we're going to perform the amort schedule. So watch how this runs now. So as I begin to step into this, first what we're doing in this is now moving the values into the linkage section. Now we're going to call the service program, and the service program is going to start and put the values into its working storage. Then it's going to perform the logic that we've extracted into this component, the amort schedule, which is going to calculate the payment. Again, this is with our cleaned up code because we did that before we did this extraction. And then it's going to go through and calculate the amortization schedule. So rather than walk through this for each month, we'll just continue to the end of that. Once we're done with this, it's completed that program, and now we're back in the calling program, and that's going to start printing the schedule. So as I start stepping through this, you'll see on the left here, they're starting to populate. We'll just go ahead and run that to the breakpoint. And then I'm just going to line these up so that you can see the results and compare them with when we started. Okay, so if I show you the original and the result, the original the values are going to be the same because we didn't change the logic. We just isolated the logic that we want to reuse, the calculation in this case, from the user interface. So the service program is just the calculation and an interface to it. And the original program now has the accepts to get the principal rate and term and the displays to put the output out. And now we have a service component that we can reuse for other purposes.